Hello, I'm Henry Chu, and this will be a tutorial on Git and GitHub. So, what is Git and GitHub? First of all, Git and GitHub are two separate things. GitHub is a website people use to host projects and code that use Git. So essentially, GitHub is a website to see the code, and Git is how to upload and maintain the code. So what is Git, and why do people use Git? Git is a version control system to track changes to files. So for example, when you edit any file, Git can determine what changed, who changed it, and why it changed. Git is useful for collaborating on projects, but you can also use it to store your own personal projects. I personally have multiple projects stored in my Git account so that I can easily access them and edit them if I need to. So let's get started. So we will navigate to github.com right here. And let me create a username. I will use Rutgers Git tutorial. Okay, let me find an email. Okay, email and then password. And we will sign up. Let's verify solving this CAPTCHA. I don't need these emails. Create the account. All right, it's doing its thing. All right, so I am a student. Let's say I'm new to programming. I want to learn to code, use Git and GitHub, and host a repository. And I'm interested in, let's say, Java. All right, complete the setup. All right, let me verify my account. Cool, my email is now verified. So let's see what my Git account has. So as you see, this is my username, Rutgers Git tutorial. Let's look at my profile. So in my profile, we can see that I don't have any repositories yet because I just made the account. But here, this chart here is pretty useful. If you see, this is a calendar of the entire year. And today is September 24th, and I have one contribution. So what is my contribution? I joined GitHub. That's pretty cool. And so this calendar here will track your changes and your commits to your account. So if you make 5 commits in one day, on let's say August 31st, it will show up as 5 commits right here on August 31st. And let's see my repositories. And if you see here, I don't have any repositories, but this is where your repositories will be. Let's make a new repository. Let's say Rutgers tutorial, Rutgers Git tutorial, Rutgers Git tutorial. Okay. We do not need that right now. That's fine. And let's create. Cool. So this is the repository. So right now there's nothing in the repository, but yeah, we have now successfully made a new repository. Now, let us go to VS Code. So what you see here is VS Code, or Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code is a free open source editor that Microsoft made for Windows, Mac, Linux, anything you need. And what is important about VS Code is that it has Git directly embedded into it. So it's very easy to use Git because you don't have to open the command prompt and type in all the commands. You can do it directly in VS Code. This tab here on the left is the Git tab. So you can commit, you can add your files, and do all the basic commands for Git that you need to, all directly inside VS Code. So it's very useful to save time using VS Code. Now, let's make a new folder. And let's make a new file. Let's name it hello world.js, JavaScript. Let's do the standard console.log hello world. All right, let's try to run it. Node hello world. And cool, it outputs hello world exactly as we want it to. So Now we need to log into Git from our computer, which is basically telling the computer who we are and what our Git account is. So we need to type in git config global user.name, and what is my username? Rutgers Git tutorial. Rutgers Git tutorial. And now we also need to set our email, global user.email. And what is my email? That's my email. So if we check our config username and email, we see that it's all there. We just set it. And now let's initialize our folder so we can use it in Git. So type in Git Init. And it initialized empty Git repository in this folder right here. Basically telling Git that, oh, I want to use this folder in Git. And now we see that this has changed. It has a U here, and it stands for untracked. So what this is saying is that Git detected changes here that is not present in Git. So this file here is untracked in Git. If we look at the Git tab here, if we click the file here, we can see what is initially in Git and what we added. So what we want to do is we want to add this change here to Git. So what we need to do is we need to add the file first to Git to tell Git that we want to upload this file. Git add hello-world.js. If you see here, stage changes. What this basically is, the staging environment. So we added this file to the staging environment, and everything in the staging environment is going to be uploaded to Git. And so let's do that. But first we need to commit it. So git commit let's say initial commit. What this is basically doing is telling Git what we changed. This is our comment. And the comment is important when you commit changes because you can see in your GitHub account what you changed and why you changed it. So now Git has the file, but how do we connect it to the repository here? So what we need to do is we need to type in the command git remote add origin, and then if you see here, this link right here, you need to copy it and paste it. So we connected the repository that we made right here to this folder. And now let's push our changes or publish our changes. Git push u origin master. Essentially telling, oh, first we must log in again. Email, password, cool. As you see here, it is now pushed to our repository. Let's check. And here's our file, hello-world.js. Let's open it up. Hello-world.js, what we have right there. And here is the comment that we made. Now let's close this here. Let's try to add some stuff. Console.log second line. Let's run it. Node hello-world.js. It works correctly. And if you see here, some things have changed. So these green lines or green tabs here on the left is the changes that Git has detected from the previous commit that we just made and what we just typed here. So you can clearly see what has been changed in this file. Let's X out of that. And here you see this M, modified. So Git has detected changes to this file. And it's telling us that this file here has been modified compared to the version that was already in Git. So we don't need this. Now we need to do the exact same commands that we did before. So we first need to add the file to the staging environment. Now, if you see here, it has been added to the staging environment. These changes right here. So we need to commit these changes now. Git commit let's say changes. So we're telling Git that we want to commit these changes to Git. Now we need to publish our changes. Git push u origin master. Publish our changes. Let's see if it works. Refresh the page, and here it is. Here's the second line. All right. Now let's go in depth for some VS Code things. Now let's delete this line and see what happens. So if you see here, this red arrow, that means that something has changed and something has been deleted. So that's also useful if you want to see what has changed. Let's save our file. You see on the left again, this file has been modified. So now here we can directly type in our commit message. Let's say deleted lines or line. So let's say always. Now that was our commit. Here's another git command, git status. So if we see here, we see that origin master, our branch here, this here, is ahead of what is already in Git. So that means that they don't match. So we need to publish our changes. And if you want to use VS Code, if you look at this button right here, Synchronize Changes, this is essentially the push command. So let's press that. Okay, we don't need that. Let's wait for it to stop spinning. Spin, spin, spin. Let's say yes. All right, it stopped spinning. Now let's check our Git status again. Git status, and it is up to date with the master in Git. So our file here is now synchronized with what is in Git. Let's refresh the page. All right, you see here we deleted that line, the second line, and everything is updated. If you see here, this was our commit message. Let's click this, and you can see what changed compared to the commit before. Now let's go back to the repository, and if we click here, we can see all the commits that we just did. Initial commit, changes, and deleted line. Let's click changes and see what it brings. So if you see, this is what we added. So basically, Git stores each version of your changes so that you can easily access them if you need to. Here's our first initial commit. This is what we typed in here. And so that is basically it. That is a short tutorial on what Git is. I hope you learned something from it, and have fun using Git.